In FPL Differential XI, I pick a team of 11 lowly owned players who I predict to score the most points for the upcoming game week, to assist you in gaining rank over other fantasy managers. There's just 3 rules. The squad must be worth a maximum of 82.5 million. Each player must be selected by less than 10% of managers, and I'm only allowed to pick up to 3 players from a single team. A silhouette of each player I've selected is already on the pitch, so play along by seeing how many of the 11 you can correctly guess. Kicking off the team in goal this week, I've opted for Lemens from Manchester United. United host Everton on Monday night, and I think this is one of the most likely fixtures in Gameweek 12 to produce a clean sheet for a differential keeper. United have definitely improved with their performances over the last month. However, they're still looking shaky at the back, having conceded twice in 3 consecutive league matches. Having said that, I'm taking faith in the fact that Everton have been relatively poor away from home so far this season, scoring on just 5 occasions, and I can see them struggling to create a number of significant opportunities at Old Trafford. Wolves have only managed to put the ball in the back of the net on 7 occasions in the Premier League this season, and honestly, it's very difficult to see where their goals will come from. I'm taking advantage of this point by backing the Palace defence with Chris Richards. Richards, in my opinion, is the best player from the Eagles' backline that's under 10% selected. He's picked up DEFCON points in 5 of his last 7 fixtures. And the reason why I think that is because Munoz travels so far up the right-hand side, leaving tons of space for the opposition to exploit. Richards is almost single-handedly responsible for blocking off that side, so he ends up making plenty of clearances. I'm doubling up on Crystal Palace's backline with Maxence Lacroix. Palace travelling to Wolves in Gameweek 12 has to be one of the standout fixtures to target from a defensive point of view. Coming into this one, the home side are still yet to win a single Premier League game this season, and they've only picked up an absolutely dismal 2 points from a possible 33. Palace, on the other hand, kept a very impressive clean sheet against free-scoring Brighton, and during that match, the Seagulls were barely able to carve out any significant opportunities to trouble Henderson in goal. Similarly to Richards, Lacroix scores DEFCON points fairly regularly, having hit the threshold in 4 of his last 6 league matches. It was one-way traffic at Stamford Bridge last week, where although it took Chelsea until the second half to get on the score sheet, it ended up being a comfortable 3-0 victory. In fact, the Blues limited Wolves to 0 shots on target throughout the entire 90, which showed the degree to which they controlled that match. Amongst rotation in the back line, Chalobah managed to maintain his spot in the starting 11, and he impressed once again, and I just think he's the best Chelsea defender to go for when targeting this away fixture against Burnley. The centre-back has now returned in an extraordinary 7 out of 10 matches since the season began, and he's proving to be one of the best value for money picks in the game. Before revealing the next player, if you fancy winning yourself a channel shout out and a place on the Differential 11 leaderboard, correctly guess the points total of this week's Differential 11 team, or guess the player who individually scores the most points in this upcoming game week of FPL, so long as they're under 10% selected within the game. Check out the pinned comment below for more details on how to submit your prediction. Completing the back 4 is Matty Cash. There's been a resurgence from Aston Villa across the past month or so, where after failing to win a league match in 5, they've now won 5 of their last 6. This includes an extremely impressive 4-0 home win over Bournemouth last week, who I think we all expected to score a goal at the very least. Leeds have now lost back-to-back league games, and crucial victories for the likes of West Ham and Forest in Gameweek 11 may well have put additional pressure on them to come away with a result. However, defensively, Villa have been really solid of late, with 3 clean sheets from their last 4 matches, and I think they'll have too much quality to allow Leeds any real chances of getting a result. I included Leandro Trossard in the differential 11 for both Game Week 10 and Game Week 11, and he returned in both those weeks, so it seems like the sensible thing to do to include him here for a third week running. A few weeks ago, I spoke about how Arteta was probably going to end up starting his strongest 11 week in, week out in the Premier League in the hopes of winning the title, and in that, Trossard would feature as the starting left winger, with Martinelli making cameos off the bench. This is exactly the situation that's unfolded, and on top of this, with Martinelli and Gyökeres currently struggling with injury, it seems almost set in stone that Trossard will start in the North London derby, which I think is a very appealing fixture from an attacking point of view. United managed to put 2 goals past Spurs last week, meaning that they've now netted 12 times across their last 5 Premier League matches. Of course, Fernandes and Mbeumo have been the main talking points, but 4.4% selected Matheus Cunha could be a very interesting differential option to back. The main reason for thinking this is because Benjamin Sesko was forced off with an injury towards the end of the game against Tottenham, and if he's out for Game Week 12, it benefits Cunha in 2 ways. Firstly, he's likely to play in a more advanced position on the pitch, and also his expected minutes are almost certainly going to rise, which is a massive plus, as he has been hooked early on a few occasions in recent weeks. I spoke earlier about the 180 turnaround in form from Villa, and one player who of course has been pivotal to that is Morgan Rogers, who played a key part in the second goal in the 4-0 win against Bournemouth. Rogers was one of the best value for money picks in FPL last season, and after the hype of pre-season, has hugely disappointed with his points return. However, I think this presents a real opportunity of backing a quality differential who almost always plays 90 minutes for one of the most informed teams in the division currently. Leeds have now conceded on 20 occasions, including 6 times in their last 2 league fixtures, making them an ideal defence to target, and having Rodgers in your team definitely has the potential of boosting you up the ranks this week. Having let in 22 goals already this campaign, including 3 to West Ham last week, Burnley are a team that I just have to target for Game Week 12. Not only that, but Chelsea are averaging scoring close to 2 goals per game, so surely there's no way the Blues are kept at bay for this entire match. I included Neto in the differential 11 last week, as I thought he'd score against his former club, which turned out to be the case, and although there are plenty of attacking options to choose from, I'm deciding to back him again, mainly due to the high likelihood of him making the starting 11, as he started every Premier League game so far this season. Unsurprisingly, chances were few and far between for Danny Welbeck last week away at Palace, who clocked an XG of 0.00. However, the Brighton forward has still been on red-hot form, with 6 goals in his last 6 Premier League matches, and a home fixture against Brentford should present a much greater opportunity for FPL points. Whilst the Bees have performed impressively at home this season, away from home they've been relatively disappointing, conceding 10 goals in 5 matches and picking up just a single point in the process. After 2 weeks off with an international break, Welbeck should be well rested and ready to play the full 90 in this one. Those 2 goals at home to Newcastle in Game Week 11 has now taken Igor Thiago's goal tally up to 8 for the season. Not only that, but with his 13-pointer, he's now overtaken João Pedro as the second highest scoring forward in FPL, with a total of 60 points. At 6.3 million, the forward offers great value for money, and this week he faces a Brighton side who have already conceded 15 times in the 25-26 Premier League campaign. His XG numbers have also been very impressive of late, accumulating an average of 0.75 between Game Week 6 and Game Week 11, and this looks set to be the last week he'll be an asset under 10% owned within the game. Just a quick reminder to let you know that your channel could feature here on the Differential 11 series. The Gameweek 11 Differential 11 team absolutely smashed it, with a score of 56. Returns came from all over the place: Pickford, Chalobah, Lacroix, Trossard, Neto and Gibbs-White. Nobody was able to guess 56, and so nobody scored the point. The highest scoring FPL players of the week were Michael Keane and Malo Gusto, who both returned 15 points, and who were both under 10% selected within the game. Unfortunately though, none of you guys predicted either of them, and so no one scores the +3 points. And that means that we have an unchanged Differential 11 channel leaderboard from last week's video. If you are interested in winning a shout out in next week's video, remember to comment below the number of points that you predict today's Differential 11 team to score and the highest scoring player of the game week. And as always, thank you so much for watching and best of luck in hitting those big green arrows.